Good morning, everyone. I'm Danielle Cummings. I'm the Chancellor and Director of Communications for the Roman Catholic Diocese. I really thank you for being here today. We're very, very proud of the announcement that we are going to be making. But before we get started, I wanted to go through just a few announcements. Ash Wednesday Mass, it is Ash Wednesday, will start next door in the cathedral at 11 o'clock. So when we leave the press room, if we still happen to be here, if you could just be mindful of that as you are departing. Bishop Cunningham is going to be celebrating the 12:10 Mass. For reporters, he is speaking about this program in his homily. You are welcome to attend either the 11 or the 12:10, but if you could stay to the left and right aisles, no center aisle, please, for any cameras. All the information you're going to hear today is available on our diocesan website. And the websites are now live at 10 o'clock, so they're all up. So now let me introduce this very distinguished panel. To my right is our bishop, Bishop Robert J. Cunningham, the 10th bishop of our diocese, Mr. Ken Feinberg and Camille Byros, both from the offices of Ken Feinberg in Washington, D.C. I'll turn it over to the bishop. When all the remarks are done, I'll return to the podium for questions. Reporters, if you don't mind, because Mr. Feinberg and Camille are new to this area, if you could first say where you're from so they have an idea of what media you are representing. Thank you. Bishop Cunningham.
Thank you, Danielle. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be with you today. I want to begin, first of all, thanking Mr. Feinberg and Ms. Byros for being here. I want to thank the members of the media. You help us tell the story of the church in good times and in bad. And we're grateful to you for being here as we try and share our message this morning. I appreciate the presence of diocesan ministry leaders, members of the Diocesan Review Board, friends from the Diocesan Finance Council, and other committee members for joining me today. I have a few prepared remarks, as does Mr. Feinberg and Ms. Byros, and then we will answer your questions. It's fitting for me today to make this announcement, Ash Wednesday, as we begin our Lenten journey. In his message for Lent this year, Pope Francis reminds us that each year God in his providence offers us the season as a sacramental sign of our conversion. Lent summons us and enables us to come back to the Lord wholeheartedly in every aspect of our life. The good news about this day is that on some level, all of us understand our need to be better people. Each knows internally that this is the time to make some positive changes in our lives. The ashes that we receive today are a sign of penance, biblical in origin, which express our human condition as affected by sin. In this sign, we outwardly express our guilt before God, and we are prompted by the hope that the Lord is kind and compassionate, patient and understanding. With contrition and hope in mind, I am announcing the establishment of an independent reconciliation and compensation program here in the Diocese of Syracuse. The IRCP is designed to offer reparation, promote reconciliation, and further healing to those individuals who in the past have been sexually abused by members of our diocesan clergy. I think we can all agree that the sexual abuse crisis in the Catholic Church is a horrific chapter in our history. It has left an indelible mark on the faith lives of so many. As your bishop, I would like to apologize again for the pain and the suffering caused by some priests of this diocese. Over the past 15 years, Since the crisis broke in 2002, the Diocese of Syracuse has addressed this problem aggressively by reporting all allegations to the appropriate district attorney, ensuring that no priest with a credible allegation of abuse remains in ministry, and preventing acts of abuse through our highly successful Safe Environment program. There are now nearly 40,000 individuals trained in child abuse prevention, as well as having been criminally background checked. Just last week, we revisited our memorandum of understanding with the district attorneys and informed them of this program, and we are grateful for our open working relationship. Survivors have been provided counseling, spiritual direction, and other support to help them find ways to move forward. Over time, we have reached settlements with roughly 20 individuals who were harmed. Even with this progress, there is no question we have made missteps in handling this crisis, and we continue to look for meaningful ways to reach out to those who have been harmed decades ago. Over the past year, we have monitored the IRCP in the Archdiocese of New York, and in the Diocese of Brooklyn, and the Diocese of Rockville Center. The response from survivors and their families has been extremely positive. We know and we acknowledge that we cannot reverse the damage that has been done in the past, but our hope is that this new effort will provide an opportunity to seek forgiveness for the irreparable acts of the past, and perhaps bring a sense of healing to some. The Independent Reconciliation and Compensation Program will be spearheaded by Mr. Kenneth Feinberg and Ms. Camille Byros. Mr. Feinberg and Ms. Byros are well known for their experience in mediation and the administration of compensation programs for the survivors of the 9/11 tragedy, the BP oil spill at Penn State, and most recently the IRCPs offered in the 3 downstate dioceses. Serving as independent administrators, Mr. Feinberg and Ms. Byros will work with those who have previously notified the diocese that they have been harmed by a member of the clergy. I will let them explain in just a moment how the program works. But I want to emphasize that Mr. Feinberg and Ms. Byros retain complete and sole discretion over all eligibility requirements and agreements, and the settlement compensation amounts for eligible individuals. The diocese will accept these determinations without question. There are 76 individuals who will receive a letter, if they have not already done so, inviting them to participate. This represents 40 priests over the decades who have been accused of abuse. Most of these individuals are deceased, and all have been removed from ministry. I know this will, again, raise the question of releasing names. Allow me again to address this issue. I will continue to honor the requests of those who have come forward. Some survivors have asked me to release all of the names, and others have asked me not to release the name of their offender. Therefore, we will confirm a name when a survivor makes it known, and in that way, I feel I am honoring the requests of both. An obvious question you will have is, how are we paying for the IRCP? The diocese must bear the cost of this program, and will be using funds from its general liability insurance program. The diocese is self-insured, and over the years it has built up reserves for both seen and unseen events. The diocese will not use money given by the people of the diocese to support parishes, schools, the annual Hope Appeal, the foundation of the Roman Catholic Diocese, the Cathedral Restoration Fund, Catholic Charities, or any other charitable fund in the church. Will not use those funds. It's very important to remember. Before I turn it over to Ken and Camille, allow me to make one thing very clear. Child sexual abuse is a grave sin and a crime, and no child is responsible for his or her abuse, ever. We will not return to the mistakes of the past. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Feinberg and Ms. Byros to tell us all how this works. Okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Kenneth Feinberg from Washington, D.C., and with me today, my colleague, Ms. Camille Byros, also of Washington, D.C. We are honored by the request of this diocese and by Bishop Cunningham to assist in the design and administration of a compensation program. We take our assignment from the bishop very, very seriously. We are continuing to implement similar programs downstate. First, the Archdiocese of New York, the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens, the Diocese of Rockville Center and Long Island, and now upstate here in Syracuse. I just want to make a couple of points, very specific points, and then sit down and Ms. Byros and I will respond to questions that are directed our way. First, this program, if you want to really note exactly how the program will work, you should have in your packet the protocol. It lays out in some specificity the terms and conditions of the program. You can also go online and get the protocol, and you can also go online and see the protocols being used right now in the Archdiocese of New York, Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island. So the program is extremely transparent in terms of laying out the charter, the mission, the rules, the terms, and conditions. And nobody will have any difficulty understanding how the program works and how it should be implemented and administered. Second, the program is purely voluntary. Nobody is required to submit a claim. Camille and I have found over the past couple of years in dealing with claims of sexual abuse, there is an embarrassment factor. You know, usually when you set up compensation programs, build it and they will come. But in the area of sexual abuse of minors, years and years ago, we find that more than occasionally, the victim does not want to submit a claim. The victim has moved on. The victim is trying to cope. The victim's wife may not know of the abuse. Friends may not know. It is not guaranteed, we have found, that every claim that we think is a claim will result in a submitted claim through this program. It is voluntary. We hope they will apply. We will reach out to them in the hope that they will apply. There is no guarantee, we've found out, there is no guarantee that the victim will, in fact, step forward, even if there's compensation as an incentive. It's counterintuitive from the 9/11 fund, the BP oil spill fund, some of these other funds. Next, I want to reiterate a point that the bishop just made. We took on this assignment at the bishop's specific request. We are independent in the sense that any claim that is submitted to us pursuant to this agreed upon protocol that's in your packet, once we render a decision both as to eligibility, is the claim eligible for compensation, and amount, the compensation that is offered, is strictly in our purview, in our discretion. The church cannot, under the protocol that you'll read, cannot reject our decision, ask for an appeal, in any way try and block our decision. We are independent when it comes to evaluating and determining each and every claim. There are about, as we have been coordinating with the church and the diocese and getting ready for this program, there are about 130 or 135 claims. Every one of those claims are the result of the claimant or a third party complaining to the church, to the diocese years ago. This is very important. The only individuals that can submit a claim under this Syracuse program are individuals or their representative who previously complained. This program at this stage will not consider brand new allegations, either against a sitting priest or a former priest. We are limited by the protocol, and we are limited by the rules and terms and conditions of this program to focus first on about 130 to 135 previously submitted complaints about abuse going back 30, 40 years. Those are the individuals that we are focused on. Those are the individuals that are eligible to participate in this program. If somebody files a claim next week and says, I was abused 2 weeks ago, or I was abused 25 years ago but never complained, ineligible. We're focused on the people who long ago submitted a claim and did not get satisfaction. Those are the people, at least in the first instance, that we will be focusing on. And finally, of those 130 to 135 people, about 76 were claimants, people who were victimized, that complained. We also have a fair chunk of claims, over 50, third-party complaints, not the individual complainant. And we'll see, as I said 10 minutes ago, we'll see how many of this total, 130 to 135, we'll see over the next few weeks, months, how many of these individuals actually voluntarily agree to participate in the program. We will do everything we can. Claimant-friendly program designed to encourage people who complained years ago to come into this program and be compensated. My final point is Camille and I have learned over the years, not only with cases involving sexual abuse at the church or Penn State, we've also learned over the years in the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund, the Boston Marathon bombings, the Las Vegas shootings a couple of months ago. Money is a pretty poor substitute for loss, for injury. It's the American system. Money is seen in the American legal system as the great equalizer. But we have found that these programs, biggest challenge, the emotion. These are very emotional victims, and it's a very emotional program. And you maintain your professionalism. But I must say, offering people a check after what they've been through is not satisfaction, not much solace, but at least we're trying, with the church's instruction, to give these innocent victims some degree of financial help, at least, for what they've been through. So that's sort of my summary following the bishop, and Camille is available also, as well as the three of us, for questions, however it'll be orchestrated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, I'll open it up for questions, and if you could just introduce yourself for our guests. Yes.
Hi, I'm Brittany Michael from Special News. I was at my leg, but I wanted to ask: is there a possibility that in the future that you all will consider maybe expanding the program for those who do make a claim that say happened 20 years ago, but it's after today's date?
Yep, we're going to wait for the completion. Yep.
We're going to wait to see what happens. We expect that there will be more. Oops. Chris, you couldn't hear me. We expect to go through the program. We'll take note of it if those calls come in, and then we'll have to see where we go from here. We have to see what we've got first.
Yes.
Patrick with the Post-Stanford. Will the victims be prohibited in any way from disclosing publicly the results of the...
No.
No. I think you have to press it each time.
No.
You can get it. I'll hold it.
Okay. No, there is no confidentiality agreement on this. The victim is permitted to say whatever he or she would like to say at that time.
I just want to add to that we maintain the program itself maintains strict confidentiality. The claimant may speak to whomever they want. We maintain absolute confidentiality.
Yes.
Hannah Schwartz from the Image and Press and Sun Bulletin. What's the reason that the church isn't going to be accepting, or you two aren't going to be accepting claimants that come out after this?
Resources. There's only so much money available to distribute. And it's very important that we prioritize those claimants who for years and years complained without any incentive to get compensated or anything like that. And we feel, having discussed this with the church and the diocese, let's start with those individuals who complained long ago and have not got any satisfaction. There may be an opportunity, we shall see, and the diocese will see, as to new additional claimants. But for now, the only eligible claimants are those who previously had filed a complaint with the diocese.
If I could add, if there is a new claim that comes forward, they would be going through the same process that we have in place now. It would be information that we don't have. So we would have some preliminary information that's taken. Due to our memorandum of understanding with our district attorneys, we would provide that information to the district attorney, the appropriate county. That district attorney will decide what action should be taken on their part. Once they have completed their action, there would be a canonical process, which is church law, that we would have to conduct, and we would only do that after we have heard from the district attorney that we can move forward. And then later in the process, when this program is completed, we'll make a decision on what we will do with those claims.
Is there a definite pot of money? How much money is there for this total?
There are limited resources, and what we will do with this program is we'll accept all the claims and review all the claims and then make determinations once the claims deadline period has expired.
How much?
Claims deadline period is May 16th.
Sorry, I mean the amount of money.
Well, we will be reporting the cost of this program at the end of the program.
Any idea how long the program will stand?
Well, as we mentioned, the claims filing period will expire on May 16th. Our program then will make sure all the claims are reviewed, all the deficiencies have been cured, and then we will prepare our determination letters sent out to the claimants. We also we also have a program whereby we have a pro bono attorney who will sit with the claimant and review the release prior to the claimant signing any release of their rights. So that's pro bono services that we have arranged for each and every claimant.
And beyond the money, reconciliation involves so much more, so where does that come?
The diocese for many years has tried to reach out through counseling, spiritual direction, assistance. We will continue to do that. Well,
It's our program.
It's our program, really, and Mr. Feinberg, Ms. Byros aren't into the spiritual direction part of the program.
And Ellen, that's been ongoing. So through our Office of Victim Assistance, if somebody would like to come forward and to make an allegation, that office is in existence to start that very process of what you're talking about. What does that individual need? And it takes a great deal of courage to come forward. It's a very emotional time, as Mr. Feinberg talked about. So the victim assistance person is there to walk them through the process and to make sure that they have all that they need. The bishop also will be asking all parishes to, again, say a Mass during Lent for victims of abuse and all those who have been affected by it. Because remember, it's not just the individual, but it's family members, and I think the community has been affected by this. So he'll be asking all priests and all pastors to celebrate a Mass through the Lent period for that.
Andrew Donovan from News Channel 9. Bishop, why now? You mentioned it's been at least 15 years. I think the average person at home might think, why is this coming up again? Why is this the best time to start the program?
Right. Well, first of all, I think the thing is it took time for us to get our act together, to review different programs, to see what was possible for us financially as well as in other ways. And so I think that this is the right time. We feel it's the right time. It's an attempt to reach out. We've seen the success of these programs in the Archdiocese of New York, the Diocese of Brooklyn, the Diocese of Rockville Center. We monitored them, we've watched them, we've heard from some of the people that have been involved directly, and they've all told us that they were satisfied that it was a good program and that it brought them a sense of relief. There's even cases where people who did not receive an award have thanked the Archdiocese for initiating the program and doing it. So we think it's the right time to do it, and we have the ability to do it this time, and so we want to move forward with it.
You mentioned 20 cases were closed other than this earlier.
Right.
Why is this a program where multiple cases can be handled by an independent group? Why is that the best way to handle moving forward?
Well, we think it's a good way of everybody coming together. They're not feeling alone, isolated, and we want to address them in a unified way. When I say that 20 cases have been handled, that could be many years ago. These cases, some of these cases go back to the 1940s. So we're trying now to reach out to those people and to help them. And as I said in the past, sometimes missteps are made, but we're all trying to do what we think is right, and we can do this now, and so we're going to go forward with it.
These situations, of course, a lot of people decide to leave the church is going to find criticism. Do you think this is going to bridge that gap of credibility the church has with a lot of Catholics who fall by the wayside?
Right. Well, I'm a person of hope, and Pope Benedict once said that people who have hope live their lives differently. I'm hopeful that this will bring a measure of healing to some people, a measure of comfort. I know that they've been hurt by the church, but there's also, an opportunity now to try and in some way, as Mr. Feinberg indicated, we'll never fully make amends for the harm that has been caused, but it's a gesture on our part, and we hope that people will come back. And as Danielle mentioned about this Mass, we hope during the Lenten season, it's a period of reconciliation, a period of penance. We hope that both penance and reconciliation will be able to find their ways into the lives of many people here that have been affected by this. That's our hope.
Yes.
Is there any recourse in this process or any way to get
anything that could get any of the living priests to address the accusations either?
This program is focused strictly on compensating victims. It is not designed to take action against priests. I think the bishop is absolutely right. These are very old claims. I think I'd be surprised if the accused priest is either deceased or long since left the church. I don't think that's going to be an issue in this program where we're focusing on, quote, relatively old cases where the perpetrator is long gone one way or another.
Since 2002, we have had, I believe, 2 requests from a victim survivor to speak with their offender. So
And of the 40 accused priests, how many are still alive?
18 are still alive. And they're all removed from ministry.
And then somehow 11 of those are credible accusations? 11 of the priests have been credible accusations?
11 are, you're going back to an article that we were talking about? Yeah, it's 18.
Mr. Feinberg and Ms. Spyros, you mentioned that there were third-party opinions. Can you explain what that is exactly?
Those are allegations that were put forward to the diocese by someone other than the claimant. So we know the names of those individuals, but we will not reach out until the claimant contacts us to move forward with the claim. There are some claimants who just don't want to get involved with this program. And it's the same situation we faced in New York, Brooklyn, and Long Island.
So that would be like a family member.
A family member, a friend, just, maybe not even a friend, just someone who saw something, thought they saw something.
And do the numbers that you provided, is there any overlap between first-party complaints about one incident and third-party where it's the same incident, or are they completely separate?
There's no overlap.
How many programs did you look at with those numbers?
4. Albany has done a mediation program that they did in 2004. They came right out of the gate with it. And then we're very grateful for the expertise of Mr. Feinberg and Ms. Spyros because they developed this program. And in looking at its implementation in the Archdiocese and in Brooklyn and Rockville Center, we clearly saw that it is helpful to those who have been harmed, and it was a model that we could bring to the Diocese of Syracuse.
Just so you know, we are in the process of completing review of just about 800 claims for the other dioceses.
Yes.
Bishop Cunningham, there has been a push to release the list of clergy, the names of the clergy. You talked about that a little bit, but can you explain a little bit further how that's going to be handled?
Well, the names of most of the priests who have been accused are already public. They've been published in the area in which they served, in the local press at times, and in other places. But there are some names that have not been released, and that is because some victims have asked us not to release their name. And to release their name, it seems to me, I'm putting them through another series, or another time of the church not listening to them and the church not respecting them. So that's why we haven't put all the names together in one place, but in parishes and institutions and places where priests have served, the information has been there.
It's important to note the name of the offender is what the victim has asked not to be released. It's also important to note that the district attorneys have all of the names of those who have been accused.
And just to add to those comments, a fair number, quite a number of these cases are abused by recidivist priests. So, and we see that all the time. There are many, many cases by the same abuser.
Yes, Hannah.
Bishop, you said that you felt that now was the right time. I'm wondering if you think that that's how victims see it since it's been 16 years?
understand the question.
I mean, 16 years is a long time if
Right.
you have each been now, so why did the diocese come to this now?
Sometimes we move slowly. The diocese came to this realizing, looking at our resources, looking at the thing, recognizing, listening to victims, trying through the years to be helpful to them. We've come to this point today, and we believe that we can move forward, and so we're ready to do it.
I think in our experience so far downstate, we are surprised at the receptivity of this program by victims. Yes, they've waited for years and years, but the fact that the program is now established and that they are being heard and in most cases receiving compensation, I think is viewed as very constructive, notwithstanding the long delay when the church was silent. This independent program, as I think the bishop and maybe Camille also mentioned, has gone some way in the direction of providing victims some degree of satisfaction, however late it may be.
Andrew?
Bishop, what would your message be for victims seeing this story come out today, this program open up? What's your message to them?
Well, I hope that they will take the program seriously. It is voluntary. We hope that they will consider carefully this opportunity, and if they wish, to reach out to us. So my hope is that this program will be a time of reconciliation and peace. Through the years, I've met with many victims. I've listened to their stories. I've empathized with them, sympathized with them, and knew that we had to do more. And while counseling and spiritual direction and assistance has been offered in the past, we felt that this was a time to move forward, and we hope that they will embrace it. But of course, it's a voluntary program, so that part of it's up to them. But I do hope that they realize that the church is anxious and concerned about them, continues to pray for them, and continues to pray for their hope and their healing, and prays that they will again find peace in the church.
And for the organization, how does this help the institution move on and close a very dark chapter?
Well, I think, the issue is a very complex issue, and different people, everyone has different ideas or different aspirations, different hopes. But I think from the point of view of the church and in the diocese, I hope that this will be seen by all of our Catholic people as a step forward and a step to reach out to people who have been harmed by the church.
Did you have something, Camille?
I just wanted to add that and explain a bit about our program. We don't just review these cases on the papers. We offer every individual claimant the opportunity to come sit with the both of us and just talk and explain their situation, what happened to them. It's purely optional, it's purely voluntary. And we've sat with, I guess, maybe 50 individuals from the various programs, and it's well worth the opportunity to sit and listen to what they have to say. And it's a good opportunity for them as well.
How important is it that it's somebody from outside doing this?
Well, we thought that it was a very good thing to have somebody totally objective, new to the program, looking at it with a fresh set of eyes, and it can be totally objective. So we think it's a good idea to have somebody from outside doing it.
If a victim receives compensation, are they going forward prohibited in any way from suing the church or commencing an individual action?
Mm-hmm.
You have to sign a release if you
Oh, you absolutely have to sign a release. If you voluntarily come into the program and you wish to accept the offered settlement, then you must sign a release. And as I mentioned earlier, we make sure that you understand what you're signing and what rights you're relinquishing before you sign that release. And we offer the services of an independent lawyer to do that.
Can you just describe other things, other rights you're relinquishing if you accept the compensation?
you're relinquishing your right to sue the diocese and any member of the diocese.
Anything else? Any other conditions?
And if we don't do it by the 16th, that's it. There's no more compensation programs.
Well, we've been dealing with people who file late claims in every single program we do. So we work directly with the claimant, and we will help them to get the claim in if they desire to submit the claim and file the claim.
We've learned over the years there must be a deadline to any of these compensation programs, even the 9/11 fund. If you don't have a deadline, people understandably procrastinate and hedge and think and wonder. You've got to have a deadline to encourage people to file. The single biggest challenge in these church cases, as I mentioned in my opening, is the contrary to the usual situation. It's getting people to file the claim. There are so many people out there, we hope not that many, but we've seen, that are reluctant, embarrassed, harmed, victims who simply are unable or unwilling to file. And one of my messages is to try and do everything we can to reach these folks, these 130, 135 people, and urge them, implore them. We can't give them compensation if they don't file a claim. And finding them and getting them to participate with a deadline that hopefully will incentivize them to file. Very, very important part of this program. Very important part. And I want to emphasize the other point that Camille just made. Most people who file don't want to come and see us. They submit their papers, they wait for a decision, they don't want to come to see us, they don't want to relive this, they don't want to articulate it in confidence, just to the two of us. It is very, very emotional. Very emotional. And when they do come to see us, we immediately comment on their courage, that they're willing to come and talk about it. And that is one, getting people to file and listening to their history. The toughest part of this program, the emotion associated with the filing of a claim.
Okay, we'll take one more question. Yes.
Based on your experience downstate, what percentage of claimants tend to be compensated?
Out of the 3 programs and almost 800 cases, we've received 1 rejection of a settlement.
Are there any closing remarks that any of you would like to make before we conclude?
Just again, thanks very much for being here. Thanks for helping us tell this story. We appreciate your support. The program is beginning, so we've got many days and weeks ahead of us, and we hope that through this process we'll be able again to bring some hope and healing to some members of our community that have been suffering. And we also hope that it'll bring hope and healing to the members of the church, and for them to recognize that the church is trying to do its best to meet the needs of people who are hurting.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you, Mr. Feinberg. Thank you, Ms. Byros. Thank you, all of you, for attending and your attentiveness and your questions. For the reporters, they will be here and available for one-on-ones. I've already had a request for one. Otherwise, have a wonderful day and enjoy your Ash Wednesday. Thank you.